Hey there, this is Thomas from Video Mantis. I want to say thank you so much for tuning in today to check out something new in the timecode world. These boxes right here are called dish timecode boxes, and they do something that is a lot different than most timecode boxes. And I have a good guest with me today. Glen Trew from True Audio is all the way out in Tennessee, and he's joining with us today to talk a little bit more about these boxes and what really makes them work. And what I'm going to do is bring in Glen Trew to talk a little bit more about it. Glen, how are you doing today?
Hello, Thomas. Good. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Well, first thing I want to start off with saying is, do you need a haircut? Because I do. It has been a little too long, and we really need to start opening up some shops. How are you doing?
Good. Yeah, this is the COVID do.
Yeah, right, the COVID do?
A few weeks ago, I thought maybe I needed a haircut, but now I'm thinking, why not just let it go?
Well, you got a lot of workers at the shop. Maybe they can give you a free haircut.
We maintain our distance around
here. Very good. Well, Glen, I want to say thank you so much for joining me today. Obviously, we have a new product here that you sent out to me, and this is such an incredible product that I needed to do a live recorded session with you to really show how they work. Can you tell me a little bit more about these dish boxes and what they're all about?
Sure. Well, first of all, I want to say that we are given equipment to evaluate and to see if it's something we want to offer to our customers often. And one thing that a criteria I have personally for the company is when we take on a new product, I'm not very interested in taking on something that's just somebody else's version of what's already out there. I like for it to be, to offer something different. I really like innovation and to offer that to our customers. So this is just that. It is a time code box for, giving time code to the various devices, sound recorder and camera primarily, and slate. But it does something that none of the others can do. And that is it takes its time code reference, its clock reference from satellites. And the satellites get their time code reference from atomic clocks. And it's kind of funny. People are always asking, well, what's the drift rate? What's its specification for accuracy? And typically it's something like, 1 frame in 8 hours will be considered very good, or 1 frame in 12 hours will be really good.
Yeah, that's pretty standard for the boxes that are on the market right now. With that, even if you forgot to jam after lunch and you went the whole day to the end of the day, you're probably going to be fine. You're not going to get that phone call, hey, what's wrong with the drift?
In fact, just to prove that, on the last show I did, I calculated that it shouldn't matter if you jam at lunch or not, if everything is within spec. So I went an entire season, 9 months of 1-hour episodes, just jamming in the morning.
Just jamming in the morning. Can you tell us what show this was on?
Pardon me?
What show is this on that you did this experiment?
This was the ABC show Nashville.
On Nashville, which is a very challenging show if anybody's watched it, with all of the music playback, all of the actors that are singing all the time. I have to commend you because I'm a vocalist myself, and I really connected with the performances, and that's because of you.
Well, I wasn't the only sound mixer on the show. I did all of season 5.
Well, excellent.
So all of season 5 was dead on in sync.
Excellent.
Anyway,
excellent.
So the accuracy typically would be for the boxes that are out there, 1 frame in 8 hours, 12 hours, more or less. The accuracy of the dish box is 1 frame in 300,000 years.
Let's just say that one more time, just in case if people didn't get it.
1 frame in 300,000 years.
300,000 years.
Yeah, I think that's enough.
If you're working that long, you better be getting overtime, golden hours, or something. That is amazing. I mean, so basically, instead of having the boxes take care of the dead accuracy, we're just relying on what's literally on the box, those satellites that are in the sky.
That's correct.
Wow.
That's correct. And GPS has been used with timecode systems in the past.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, Ambient can use timecode or a GPS signal to set its master clock to be dead on accurate. But GPS is just one satellite system that Dish uses. Because there's some, GPS is a U.S. system. There are other systems, some made by Russia and monitored and maintained by Russia, some by China. There's several others out there. The Dish system uses all of them, depending on which one it determines is the best source for signal strength and so forth. So it's not just a GPS receiver; it's a satellite receiver, to get its time, to get its clock reference and its time of day reference. So that's very different. So a lot of people think, well, why would I want that? And there's a couple of examples I can give you how it can be very helpful, in a way that none of the other boxes can give. So let's consider a production where there's 10 locations at the same time for one reason or another. Maybe it's a big news event, with news coverage all over the world.
Hmm.
Maybe it's a reality show where you have different athletic events going on in different parts of the world.
Right, maybe like
And
the
they're also,
Amazing Race, right, where they're all in different areas running around.
yeah, and maybe they're talking to each other via phone or video conference. So they need to be in sync with each other. So let's say you've got 10 crews. You got three in, let's say you got one in Los Angeles, one in Malibu, one in San Diego, one in Vancouver, one in Beijing, one in one in the Netherlands, anywhere in the world. If they have a Dish box, they're all going to have exactly the same time code
Amazing.
without having to sync to each other. You just turn them on, it gets a signal, you get a flashing green light, and they all have exactly the same time code.
Why don't we talk about the differences between the two boxes first? Because I know that
Yeah.
there is a regular model, which I'll flip to. So we have the regular model. You'll notice that it doesn't have the B and C. And then we have the Pro version. And they're very similar. They don't really have a lot of stuff going on. What can you tell me about the regular version?
Okay. Yeah. So the regular one, as you're calling it, is the original. That's the original
Dish
design.
original, yes.
Yeah. So now that there's two, there's the other one's called the Pro, which is the newer version.
Right here.
So I think the way we can call them is Standard and Pro. Standard being the original.
Very good.
Pro being the newer one.
Okay.
With some features on. Okay. So the Standard, when it was designed, it was intended to have, get its time code from satellites, and also it was to be as absolutely simple as possible. If you notice, there's not an on-off switch on there. You can't turn it on or off the switch.
There's only a battery compartment for 2 AA's. There's the port to plug the cable into, and an LED. Oh,
Yeah.
and one more thing on the back. I believe that's an external microphone. Is that right?
That's correct. That's correct. All right. So it's the way you turn it on is to plug a cable into it.
Okay. So I have a cable right here. I'm going to go ahead. I think you guys can see that right now the LED is not blinking. I'm going to plug it in. Boom, and it turns solid red.
Yeah. So and in time, depending on where if you're outside or inside a metal building, in a few minutes you'll get the the flashing green light. So now it's on, and that's all you can do. All you can do with the thing is put batteries in it and plug in a cable.
Plug it in.
And out the other end will come absolute accurate time of day time code. Now we'll say that since it gets its time information from satellite, it's going to be displaying universal time. There's a few names for basically the same thing. Greenwich Mean Time, GMT, is one. And so that's saying what time it is in Greenwich, England, which is at the zero latitude or longitude.
The Zulu line, right?
Yeah, Zulu is another term for basically the same thing that's used in aviation. So that when you say Zulu time, everybody knows exactly what time you're talking about, regardless of what time zone you may be in. So they do display Zulu time or Greenwich Mean Time.
So that means for people that are plugging this device like into a slate or they're jamming a camera, if you're used to seeing TOD, time of day, You might be a little confused at first unless if you understand this parameter. It's not a default, it's actually an aid, right? This is something that helps
Yeah,
to make
it's a
sure that they're
design
accurate
feature.
everywhere.
Yeah, in a way, it makes it idiot-proof. You can't put the wrong time in there. It's impossible.
Exactly. So
Um,
basically, you might start your day at 9 a.m. and what would that be if it's 9 or 10 a.m. in LA? I guess we could do the math. How many is that away from Greenwich?
that'd be approximately 6 p.m.
6
Uh,
p.m. Okay, so you would be seeing 1,800 hours on a slate when you start in the morning, and that can be scary to some people unless they understand the
that's
workflow.
right. And I think it's only a matter of getting used to what I think will be seen as a better system.
You know, hey
Because
Glenn, really quickly, we've got the LED. It just turned solid green. What does that mean,
okay,
sir?
yeah, a solid green means it has received its satellites and now it knows where it is.
Okay. So this guy
Okay,
right
so
now knows that it's in LA or in Glendale, and it's talking to the satellite. Not talking, it's receiving, it's listening. It doesn't talk
that's
back
right.
to it.
That's correct. It's just receiving, and when it jams itself and goes through a confirmation process, then you get a flashing green,
Excellent. So
and
we're
then it's
looking.
actually time code. Yeah.
Very good.
So
So we're going to wait for
mhm,
that guy to blink in a little bit.
yeah.
And I
So
also
if
notice on the bottom it has a quarter 20, so if you need to screw this into a DSLR camera or into a hot shoe somewhere, you can absolutely do that. So it keeps it very
that's
low
correct.
profile.
That's right. Yeah. So back to Greenwich Mean Time again, or Zulu, or Universal Time. All you'd have to do to know what the actual local time of day is to know, where you are. Or for instance, if let's say in post production, they're looking at the slate, they see Greenwich Mean Time or Zulu Time, Universal Time. All they have to know is where that scene was shot, and they can interpolate what the local time of day was. If
Absolutely.
that, yeah. So I think it's just a matter of getting used to something a little different, but I think it's an improved way of doing things. Okay, so now back to the what's different between the standard and the pro.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you know what? There was one other thing that I think you need to talk
Oh,
about with the original, and that's with the frame rate, since there isn't a selection on it. Is that right?
that's right. That's right. So two things different about it. One is I forgot to mention it has a microphone built into the box.
Yes, right there.
Okay, and so it was made for one thing for like DSLR cameras that don't have a timecode generator on board. So you would output from the box through the cable linear timecode as an audio signal onto one of the audio tracks. On the other track from that cable will go the built-in microphone for ambience. So it'll give for scratch audio.
Excellent.
And the idea is to use that audio for a system like Plural Eyes or other devices that look at the audio track and sync it up with the lips or whatever else is going on.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's great because you're using an aux cable, which it can be a balanced signal or it can be two channels of audio that are unbalanced. We're able to send the time code and the audio down the same cable, so it keeps less gack on the camera. And like you said, it gives you that reference that they might need if they just need a little bit of B-roll, or to use it in pluralize to sync if they need to. That's great.
Yeah, you can also use that cable to jam sync other devices, a slate, a recorder, a camera.
Absolutely. Yeah, as a utility, I would love to have one of these in my pocket. Maybe not the original, um, but have one with the BNC standing by. So if anything needed to be rejammed, a camera, a slate, anything, I could be walking around on set and be the timecode manager of the set.
That's right. So now one thing about the timecode frame rate with this box, with the standard, which is different than the Pro, with the standard box, it always outputs 30 frames timecode,
Why is that?
always, for simplicity purposes. And the reason for the box in the standard version is to sync sound with picture. That's what it's for. And if what's going to the sound recorder and the slate is the same thing that's going to the camera, it doesn't matter what the frame rate is. It's only used as a sync reference.
Interesting, because that's the thing that I think is going to scare a lot of people. They're going to be like, I need to have my 23.976, and you don't really need that if you're working in these DSLR cameras in these easier workflows of productions. Is that right?
That's correct. That's correct. And in fact, you really don't need it any other way for other double system sound and camera productions also. But there are some convenience factors for having different frame rates. So that's the largest difference between the standard and the pro.
Which is right here.
Yeah, if you can hold that up, or I can hold mine up.
Yeah, they're basically the same size. They're almost identical, except one's got the B and C ports sticking out. Whoops, you're not seeing the overhead. My bad. There we go.
Yeah, okay. So it has a rotary switch, so you can dial in all the the typical timecode frame rates: 30, 2997 drop frame, 2997 non-drop, 25, 24, and 23976, abbreviated as 2398 on the box. That's for jamming devices, like on the recorders, so that you have a timecode stamp of the timecode frame rate. So in that regard, you can use it like you normally use your other timecode sync boxes. But as
Excellent.
far as the way it works, getting its timecode clock reference from satellites, it's the same as the standard. It doesn't have the built-in microphone for scratch audio,
No, nothing on the back there.
right? And it does have an on switch, so you can turn it on and off.
Yeah, this one has the switch right here. Well, it's not a switch, it's a button. So you push the button and then it will activate. Now, I'm not going to do it right now because this guy, I got a lot of bright lights in here, so I can't see very well. This is much easier to read in sunlight. But this is blinking green. This one's been on for, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 minutes inside. And in fact, that's something that I want to talk to you about too, because somebody that just gets this out of the box, puts batteries in it, and they're, on a huge stage in the dark, prepping for their scene, turning it on, they might get a little bit nervous the first time because they're like, why is it taking so long to jam? What can you talk about the jamming process and what you might need to do to speed it up?
Well, first of all, if you buy one of these and it's shipped in from some other place, when it arrives, it's not going to know where it is right away, right?
Right.
It's changed by hundreds of miles probably. So the first thing it does is it looks for where it is. If it decides that it's not where it was last time it was running, it's got to do a little math and a little searching, and so it'll take a few minutes for it to find out where it is, so it can do the rest of its job to sync.
I remember way back in the day, Glenn, there used to be these atomic clocks that you could buy. And, if you had them unplugged from the wall, they were completely off. And like, say it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you'd plug it in, and what would happen is it would instantly from midnight just start counting up from 0. And it would go really, really fast. And as soon as it got to 4 o'clock, boop, it would stop on the perfect time. Is that kind of what's happening in these boxes?
Well, I don't know, but I would guess that's correct.
Gotcha. So it's literally just saying, I've just got to search. I've got to go through the whole entire realm of 24 hours to find out where that exact precision pinpoint is. And then boom, lock to it.
That's right. That's right.
Excellent.
And the next time you turn it on in the same vicinity, it's going to sync up much quicker.
Okay, yeah, so that is true then. I did remember the first time I got these because these got shipped from you in Nashville. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay, so yeah, the first time I plugged them in, it probably took, I don't know, 2 to 3 minutes, and I was doing it outside. But now that I'm doing it, even inside, it generally happens in, I don't know, about maybe a minute to a minute and a half. Is that about what you're getting as well?
That's about right. Yeah.
Yeah, which is
You can vary
fine.
a little bit.
If you need a jam faster than that, maybe you need a pre-call. Right? I don't know. Just saying.
Yeah, that's a 2-minute pre-call to jam.
Yeah, exactly, right? Calm before the storm, everyone. Okay? But yeah.
So I will say too, people who have used GPS receivers for mapping or whatever, that they probably experience very weak signal strength, or maybe not even non-operation when indoors. If you don't have clear view of the sky. The receiver on this system is extremely sensitive to where it can actually extract a signal when the signal is lower than the noise itself.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's vastly improved over what was available for this kind of thing even a few years ago.
Okay.
Uh,
And
so you can
just
be
like we
inside
said,
at a
though,
typical soundstage, and still it'll receive its signal from the satellites, and away you
absolutely.
go.
And
Yeah,
God forbid you're nervous. What you do when you get your carts out of the truck, turn it on right before you even go inside.
yeah,
It's going to be able to sync even faster outside. But with the technology advancements, it can do it inside as well. So that is
yeah.
absolutely amazing. There's
Hmm.
another thing that I want to ask you about. I noticed, I'm going to take off this hot shoe here. This is just a quarter 20. If I take the
Hmm.
batteries out, these units have a USB-C port. I think it's either a micro. Is that a USB micro for updating? Am I right?
That's correct. Yeah,
Excellent.
it's not for anything else that I'm aware of.
Okay, very good.
But
Not a whole lot that
it is
might need to be updated, though.
well, I don't know. The fact that it can suggests that eventually somebody will think of something it doesn't do that it can do.
Touche.
We're used to seeing that now.
Yeah, that's true.
Um,
Everything needs to be scalable nowadays, so having that option is very nice.
mhm,
Well,
mhm.
excellent. Well,
Here's what I want to point out that there's let's see there was a company, the Mad Max franchise. There was some scenes in Mad Max where there were several things going on, very far apart from each other. So let's say a mile apart.
wow.
The scenes where they're traveling with all those crazy vehicles in the desert, and one starts, let's say, a mile from the other, and they wanted things to be able to be in sync without having to run up to every device a mile away and jam sync. Um, so somebody thought, well, the answer to that is to use GPS as the clocking source.
Exactly.
And it sounded like a great idea. It looked like it was going to work just fine. And when they got everything back to edit, there was quite a discrepancy in the time code from device to device.
Oh
So the
no.
assumption, so the explanation was that, well, GPS is not accurate enough for time code.
Hmm.
Uh,
But that was probably 5 or 6 years ago now, and these guys may have figured something else out.
well, yeah. So there's something called, well, we're all familiar with leap year, which is, I think, every 4 years we
Right.
add a day to make up for, because the world's not turning exactly at 365
Hmm.
turns per year. Um, so so likewise, there's something called leap seconds, because everything doesn't translate exactly to the seconds with the atomic clock and the way the Earth moves.
Wow.
So every now and then, I think it's every few years, um, the minds that monitor these kinds of things get together and say, all right, we need to add a second, or we need to add a few seconds to get us back on track, which throws off everything else that's not updated.
Exactly. So if it's not auto updating all the time and receiving the signal from them, if it's relying on its own source, that could be a problem then.
That's right, and it could be whatever the leap seconds were or weren't at the time the box was manufactured. It's
Wow.
going to be different than so. So this box, the dish, knows about leap seconds. It calculates it so you can never have a drift. You can never have two dish boxes that are not in perfect sync with each other.
That is absolutely incredible. And what a mathematician to be able to figure that out. Ari is something else, isn't he?
Yeah. Yes, he
That's
is.
amazing. Yeah.
He's a great mathematical mind, and understands the physics of these things and understands how they're used.
Well, we're very
Um,
fortunate to have him. Why don't we do a test? Do you want to try plugging it in and seeing what happens?
have you got a green light on your Pro there?
I
Flashing
got a
green?
green light. You want to do it?
Let's do it.
Awesome. Okay, so all I'm doing is I'm taking a BNC
Flashing.
to quarter-inch cable. I've got my timecode Pro dish box. It's set for 23.98. And I have my slate here, which is also in 2398, which is position number 4. And we're in read mode, which means the dip switch is down, everyone. We have some instructional
I just
videos on
noticed
Video
mine
Mantis
is
for these, if you need help with the timecode Denicky slates. So I'm going to put it on. You're going to see read mode. And there's my time. So right now, just so
Okay.
everyone knows, in LA, it is 1:33. So it would be 13:30 right now, roughly. I'm not an atomic clock, so I'm not as accurate as these boxes. But right there, we can see 20, 33, 03, 4, 5, 6. Wow. That,
Yeah. So Thomas, just to state the obvious, Thomas and I did not jam sync our boxes to each other.
nope, I
We
just turned it on.
turned them on. We just turn them on, and they're absolutely accurate. Now, because of teleconferencing, there's all kinds of latency and lag that takes place, plus and minus, and audio gets separated from video
Right.
by a frame or two or half a second sometimes or more. So that's one reason that this system can be very helpful, because teleconferencing is used so much now. But if you have this timecode system, it's easy to bring things back to perfect sync. There's nothing up my sleeves. Here's the box. There's the cable. When I pull the cable, the timecode stops.
Yep, exactly. Yep. Now,
And
the
then put
one
it back in.
thing that I want to
I'm in-
bring up for some people is that during this test, you see that our numbers on the screen, like even if Glenn brings them back up, you know that our numbers are in sync. But if anybody was like, well, let's see how accurate this really is, and I'm going to take a screenshot and really look at those numbers, they might see a little bit of a discrepancy. And what I want to do right now is just nip it in the bud and say, what you're seeing is not a drift from these boxes. You're seeing the drift from the computers and all of the algorithms that are going to basically put Glenn and me in sync, because we have separate audio sources, we have separate video sources in different states, and this program is having to basically retime everything to basically broadcast it out live to people. So don't think if you took a photo of this and you see that the frames are a couple off that, oh, this isn't as accurate, it's a joke. It's not. It's just the fact that you're seeing the discrepancy in our program right now. That has to be said.
Right. In fact, that I think that illustrates a big advantage of this system.
Yes.
For one thing, with COVID going on, everybody doing a lot more teleconferencing through the internet, it's going to be used for professional productions as well, for one reason or another. This kind of system will allow things to get back in sync in post-production.
Absolutely. I think that anybody that's like an important head, if you're doing a lot of news meetings or live news reports from your home, if you're doing meetings with more people around the audience around that you have to record separately, having a box available at your home when they say, hey, do you have a dish box? Are you able to have dead accurate sync with us? Yeah, no problem. I'll put it on my camera for you, and it'll be dead accurate when I send you my files. That way they have their live version, but then they also have your raw files that are perfectly in sync that you can send to them.
So people often ask how these systems will be used with their current workflow. So people often have their own established timecode boxes already. Typically, they have one for the sound recorder, the slate possibly, certainly one for each camera. So think, well, why do I need another system? Well, to use the dish system, all you need to have is one box if you already have your own other boxes. For instance, if you have a dish system, you turn the box on, you get the flashing green light, and then you can jam your sound recorder from that, take it to each camera if you want, to those boxes on your camera, and jam the individual boxes from the sync using the dish box as the master. That way, all of your boxes, all the devices, the recorder, the slate, the cameras, is in sync with everybody else using the dish system, and you've only done it with one box.
That's amazing. So people don't have to go out and buy 10 of these boxes now. Oh God, there's a new time code thing. Now I got to go out and get all new system. That's not the case. You can get one or two, maybe get an original and get a pro. And then that's pretty much all you need.
Yeah, I think I would, if I needed a pro, and one of the advantages of which I think, most high-end productions, you would want to have the ability to select a timecode frame rate.
Right,
So
exactly.
in that case, I'll get the Pro. And if you already have your other timecode system, that you're using, there's no need to replace it all.
There's no need, no need.
Yeah.
Just use that
Now,
as your master and jam accordingly.
that's right. Now,
Yeah.
if you were doing a scenario where you had different uh, scenes, or a scene where with multiple locations, very far apart, then each of those distant locations would need to have at least one dish box. And you could
Excellent.
just put a dish box for every camera that in operation if you didn't already have something to jam it to.
Yeah,
So you,
exactly. If you're starting out, these are a perfect box to get if you're okay with just using that atomic clock time code all the time.
yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I can see everybody benefiting by having at least one dish box in their kit, and they're surprisingly inexpensive.
They are
Uh,
very inexpensive.
yeah, I I can't guarantee that my numbers are dead on accurate for price, but I think it's 275 for the Pro
Hmm.
and 249 or so, 275. I'm sorry, 225 for the standard.
So they're
Don't hold me.
very
Give me plus
competitively
or minus.
priced.
Give me plus or minus 10 or $15 on that, but it's well under $300.
Yeah,
Okay?
it's competitive with the other boxes that are out there. So it's not something that, oh man, just because this has a specialized function that you're going to have to go out and spend $1,000 on a box. It's not even close. You could get 3 or 4 of these for $1,000, but you might not even need that many. So don't think that you have to go out and get that many unless if you need to. If you're working on that big production with 10 crews in multiple locations, then maybe it's a good idea to bust these out.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So when I first saw the system, I thought, oh, here we go, another timecode box.
Yep.
We're lucky to have very good timecode boxes for the kind of things we need the boxes for syncing sound and camera.
Right.
There's some very good ones with some subtle differences that people might prefer one over the next. So I thought, oh, this is just another one. At a closer look, I realized it's quite different and has advantages that you can't get from any of the other boxes.
You know, I
So,
thought of a question, Glenn.
okay, good.
What about if you cross over midnight with one of these guys? Are people going to get scared on set? What's going to happen?
Well, it will go from midnight to 1 or to 0.
Right. Yeah, it's gonna flip the clock, right? But
Yeah.
what do you do with people on set if they don't understand? I mean, you gotta communicate with people before the production and let them know we're using a different time code procedure on this set. It's gonna roll over. That's okay,
I see.
right?
So what if it goes past midnight in Greenwich, England?
Exactly.
I
Yes.
see.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't have an exact answer, except that I know sometimes it's not a factor at all. It
Hmm.
used to always be a factor. Back in the days when we used analog Nagra quarter-inch tape,
Hmm.
you put it on the T-Audio machine, the T-Audio machine would just stop. It was nearly impossible to correct for it. Now it's not such a big deal. The time code is used to start something, not continue to run it.
Very good. Very good. So don't worry about that either, everyone. That's good to hear. Well,
Yeah,
this
it's kind of
is,
funny though. All the times that I guess because of holdover from the Nagra days,
yeah.
I've had some ADs saying, "Oh, we cannot go past midnight during a take,"
Right.
and so we would wait for like 4 or 5 minutes for nothing,
Unreal.
1 o'clock, um, and now they won't even consider doing that.
Yeah, exactly. We'll sync it
We'll,
later.
we'll figure it out later. Yeah, but
Just clap.
yeah, it's easier to figure out now than in the past.
For sure.
Hmm.
Well, thank you, Glenn, for showing these boxes off and sending me a few to play with. They are absolutely amazing boxes, and they do serve a really cool purpose. Are they for everybody? Not necessarily. Could they be? Yes, they absolutely could be for everybody. I think that all professional sound mixers should have at least a pro in their timecode kit because one of these days something's going to happen. You're going to be like, you know what? I can solve this. Let me pull out my dish box. And you're just going to save the day, and everybody's going to be so amazed at your technology that came from Dish.
Yeah. So, but before we go, I feel like we're getting close to going. So before we go, I want to give out a shout out
Yeah.
to the people at Sound Devices because all that's linking me to the rest of the world here is the Mix Pre and a USB cable. It's got the
Wow.
audio going from me, to the world, and then back so that I can monitor. And using this, I hear my voice in my headphones.
Absolutely. In fact, we're doing the same thing over here. I've got the big brother of the. Did you say you have the 3 or the 6 with you?
This is the 3.
You've got the 3. I've got the Mix Pre 10T, just the first version for this one.
Hmm.
That's all I really need. I don't really need the 32-bit floating point right now in my career. But I'm doing the same thing. I'm taking a Mix Minus from my Wirecast setup, which is our live. We're not using Zoom. We're using a different live platform to interact with people. And we're doing the same thing. My audio is coming through DPA lavalier, going through Zaxcom wireless, and then going into the Mix Pre 10T to allow us to hear. And man, can I say this is probably one of the cleanest sounding conferences I've ever heard.
Thank goodness. Yeah,
Yes.
my microphone is a remote audio. I'll show you. It's built onto the headset.
Yeah, tell me a little bit more about this. So is this something that you're adding onto all of those headsets manually at the shop?
I'm sorry, I had my headphones off. I couldn't hear you.
Oh, my apologies. So are you modifying those at Remote Audio?
Yes.
That's
Yeah, remote
excellent.
audio, which is actually just behind True Audio across the parking lot. Uh, we take the Sony headphones, and we manufacture the boom microphone
Mm-hmm.
in the articulated mount. So we attach them to the Sonys, and we attach them to the remote audio high noise headphones. And
Excellent.
we can, there's another version that's got the microphone built into the cable. If people don't want this in front of their face, and then we can add it to any headphone, turn up a Sennheiser into a headset.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I would
But this is
love to
what
get one of those and play with it here and
Mm.
show people under the cameras if you'd love to send one to me.
Yep, deal. We'll do it.
Awesome. Very good. Very good. Well, Glenn, thank you so much for taking some time and sending these boxes out and having a little show and tell with everyone. I appreciate it.
It's been fun.
Awesome. Well, anyone, if you have any questions about the dish boxes, either the original or the Pro, please leave them in the comments below. We'd be happy to help you. And please take a look at True Audio's website. These are available now. We'd love to get you set up with them. We'll see you soon. Take care.